yes, that's how, when COVID started, and then again, I'll just make the one comment, distribute anything.
Right.
And a lot of people still like to blame Diamond on that. But from that, DC, from some knee-jerk reaction or whatever, and we don't know behind the scenes as well with Diamond, they went with Lunar Distribution, which is a bigger publishing, bigger company that distributes books and manuals and all that kind of stuff. And they went exclusively with them. Now, then Penguin picked up Marvel Comics, but Marvel Comics also still stayed with Diamond. So as a retailer, I can get my Marvel Comics from Penguin or Diamond.
Okay.
I could get my Image from Lunar or Diamond and some of all the other companies. The only company that's exclusive now with one specific distributor is DC with Lunar.
Okay.
Now, I say that, but there are still some that are exclusive with Diamond. And I don't know if you know the company Distillery. When I say the company, it's a new company from started the last couple of years. It's one of those independent companies I was talking about. They were picked up, and they were for a while being offered by Lunar.
Okay.
And then they left Lunar about 6 months ago, and so they went exclusively with Diamond.
Bad timing.
Well, I saying that's again being a retailer, one of those emails that we get that the masses on internet don't see, and it basically told us retailers, we are not leaving Diamond. We're still staying exclusively with Diamond. So that right there was a flag to me telling, well, Diamond's not planning on going out of business.
Okay.
I'm looking at the stuff that they're offering for me to order for the store, coming up with new things and blah, blah, blah. They are not acting like we're leaving. They're just restructuring. And I think it's important sorry, I kind of got long-winded there. Going back to what you're saying about the small press companies, they need Diamond. Penguin and Lunar are big corporate.
Right, and they don't care about comics
and
as
really,
much.
Comic books is just a part of their business.
Right.
There's always been a distributor in the comic industry that's focus was comic books. And with Diamond, they are that one. If they leave, we won't have that. And then a small press company can't just go to Penguin and say, we want you to publish our book. Distribute our book. There's a whole big rigmarole that you have to go through to get in.
I'm sure they've got minimums and things like that.
And if I'm going to say, well, I'm going to print my own comic book that I made myself, and I'm going to make 5,000 copies or so, they're not going to look at me.
Right.
Whereas Diamond has a thing to where you can. And to throw a tag on that, I'm sure everybody knows, or if they don't know the name, they know what he's done, Robert Kirkman.
Yeah, of course, Walking Dead.
You know that name.
And,
if you're a Walking Dead person, then you know he's the creator of Walking Dead. Blah, blah, blah. You want to go back. We might not have got any of that if it wasn't for Diamond Comics. Robert Kirkman started off with a very small press, printed his own comics. That's what got him noticed to get into the mainstream comic books. Without Diamond to be that outlet, there you go.
Yeah.
I know there's probably people saying, well, you got online, they got websites that they could do it. That's not the same as reaching out as you do if you have the comic book stores, you have your product in the stores.
But there are a lot of successful people, and of course those people have names like Jimmy Palmiotti, and people, Ron Friends, who did that great Kickstarter with, and they'll do Kickstarters and print and publish their own, but
what do they have in common?
They're all already established.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. But also some people have pointed to that might be the future anyway, because there's a lot of people on Kickstarter. Like we've met people, we've had them on the air, like, for example, Todd Black, who's an independent publisher, does his own stuff. He does several Kickstarters. We just had the guy who does Giant Detective on a couple months ago, and he's, that's all his online stuff. And those are kind of, people notice it, and it's kind of back to that little indie comic thing that people do tend to discover and like.
Would be curious on what their numbers are of the issues that they sell as a Kickstarter. But the thing is, after you've done your Kickstarter, what do you do next?
Right. Hopefully a second issue. Or
well, I'm just saying, then you hope they're going to do a website and just order your product from that way. Or what typically happens, I got a Kickstarter. Now all of a sudden, I got a comic book that shows up in a comic book stores for more people to see.
If it sells really well on Kickstarter, that's going to be something the publisher might take notice of.
Exactly. That's when you got Image Comics or whoever saying, ooh, or Diamond, I'm going to now publish my own I'm going to publish it, and they have the outlet for that.
Yeah. So, but this a lot of people have been worried that this is going to, like, for example, our friend Jim Oosley, who does Red 5 Comics. He works for them. He does the Atonement Bell.
I know the company.
So
yes.
So that's a smaller independent one.
Very small company.
That was something that might be hurt by this then.
Oh yes.
Okay.
If somebody like him, that size of a company, can't make some kind of deal with Lunar or Penguin, then that means that all they have is the website.
Kickstarters and things like that, or
that's all they
Red
have.
5's website.
And that could be the wave of the future. Who knows? But I still personally believe, no matter what, you talk to any of these small press people, they're going to say Diamond is important.
Yeah.
A distributor like that is important to have.
So then, is this something that the industry should be kind of rally? Like, I'm always a big proponent of go out and support your local brick and mortar comic book store, because once that goes away, that's a big piece. So is this something that the distributors, that Marvel, the DC, the Image should be kind of saying, hey, let's see what we can do to help Diamond out?
That's why I was impressed with the distillery email that we got. Basically coming back, right? It was like 2 days after we got the email explaining about the bankruptcy and everything, coming back and say, hey, this is distillery. We know we just told you a couple months ago we went, exclusive with Diamond. We are staying exclusive with Diamond. Nothing is going to change. The books are still going to come out. Do not worry.
Okay.
And there's where, I would like to see more support from the rest of the industry. I kind of see there's almost some. I kind of see it like they're happy that Diamond is in trouble.
Yeah,
and I can understand if they've had problems with Diamond in the past. I mean, like I said, I've been a customer 35 years. I can tell you some things that I've had issues with them. But if we want this industry to stay healthy and they still exist, I really feel like we need Diamond, and we need them to support them and not just jump ship.
Right. So what about the critics out there who would, I don't want to say they're rooting for it. And again, I'm not pointing out anyone. I know I mentioned Clownfish TV and specifically one of the YouTube channels. Not that they're rooting for the demise of the comic industry, but people say, oh, this is another harbinger of the demise of the comic book. Oh, more comic book shops closed down.
Then
is this a symptom, or is this just a bump in the road?
I think it's a bump in the road.
Okay.
And again, we've talked about the naysayers before. Whatever reason, it's like the ones we talked about with movies. Before the movie comes out, the movie's terrible. Well, have you seen it? No, but it's terrible. Well, how do you know it's terrible if you haven't seen it? Well, we just know it's going to be terrible. Well, Yeah. And it's the same thing. It's kind of like, oh, boy, look, it's dying. Everything is dying. Do you want comic industry to die?
Right.
Or do you want to go, we got to do something about this, so...
Yeah.
You don't let it die.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want it to sound like I'm sitting there saying that this is making the industry's dying because of this is happening. My God. Like I said, I talked about Glenwood and Capital City. I don't know if you remember, close to, I guess, around 20 years ago. I'm getting old. When Marvel separated from everybody and started their own distribution with Hero Distribution
for
a couple of years.
Yeah.
It bombed, fell flat, it lasted a couple of years, and boom, they're right back with Diamond.
I'm old enough to remember when Marvel went bankrupt, too, in the 90s.
I was going to say, Marvel went bankrupt in the late 90s.
Too many variant covers, it wasn't variant covers then, it was too many special covers, the hologram foils.
And if you remember, it's kind of similar. They were restructuring. At that time, Marvel had put out so many tentacles. They had these car divisions and toy divisions and all this other kind of stuff that was hurting the overall comic portion. And what did they do? They sold all of those divisions off and went back to just the comic books, and then, of course, played their ace, the movies, which
Stan always knew.
which was the major ace for them, which really made them back to where they are.
Just to show you what a businessman Stan Lee was, Stan always knew that.
He knew back in the late 60s he needed needed that niche.
Especially because he talked about all the time when he saw Superman, the original Christopher Reeve on the big screen. He said, why aren't we doing that? And all of his board told him, what if it fails? What if it goes wrong? Then our comics are going to go in the toilet. And Stan's like, no, we need to get them on the big screen. People are going to want to see that. So he was screaming about that, almost 50 years ago now?
Yes.
Saying we should get them up on the big screen. And it took until, they had little ones here and there.
He got to his TV spot, but he never got that big screen
Yeah.
And well,
until I guess X-Men and Spider-Man in 2000, 2002.
yeah, well, I mean, you could go with the ones like the early terrible Captain America movie and
the Punisher and the Harvey
Punisher
Korman,
movie.
not Harvey Korman, but the Roger Corman Fantastic Four.
Well, that was a whole nother. We could do a whole hour on that one because that was a whole different type of animal. That
Dolph
never was
Lundgren
supposed
Punisher.
to be. That was never supposed to be put out.
Right.
But Punisher, Captain America, those movies that preceded the first X-Men movie and first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. Blade was, I think, one of the ones that really people, this is good.
Which one?
Blade.
Yes.
Wesley Snipes. That's the one that really
Blade,
kind of...
They preceded Blade. And remember when Blade came out, all of us were thinking, oh, God, another Punisher, another Captain America. What are they going to do? And then we were all pleasantly surprised, saying, oh, they actually made the comic book into a movie.
Yeah. And I think we got, it looks like we got the video up and running. Maybe we got some chats coming in. Spike Forrester of Lost in Space Toys says, Heidi Ho. Hello to you, Spike. Dan Young, previous show host there, said, always informative show. Thank you very much for listening, Dan. I know the video, it looks like we're kind of still intermittent, but hopefully I know we're listening online because I'm hearing that come back through the speakers, so we're still good. So yeah, I was just kind of curious because obviously there's always been little setbacks here and there, and the comics business has ebbed and flowed. Sometimes like DC feels like they're really hitting their stride. Like I remember I've got that Blue Devil poster that says DC Comics making comics fun again. And in the mid 80s, DC was on all cylinders and Marvel was kind of faltering. And then it felt like in the early 90s, Marvel was starting to take off with a Spider-Man #1. They relaunched X-Men #1, Jim Lee. They were on fire and DC was kind of waning. But the industry overall has also ebbed and flowed, as you've no doubt seen, because I've been bicycling up to get my comics for you now for 35 years. Yeah. Not now, I'm driving a car, but
don't let them lie to you. Still bicycling up there. Those trends that you're talking about, where the Marvel was good and the DC was good, blah, blah, if you really look at it, it's the talent was kind of traveling back and forth.
Sure.
Most of the main talent, and that's why in the late '80s, a lot of that talent left Marvel, went over to DC to make those good books like Blue Devil, New Teen Titans, blah blah blah.
Firestorm
and in the '90s, some of them kind of went back to Marvel, but then you had the introduction of the Image Boys.
Yeah,
lack of a better term to call them. I always I'm old. I still call them the Image Boys, even though they're not boys anymore.
Yeah, they just had their Rob Liefeld just posted on his social media their first gathering when he was 26 years old,
right?
And then their most recent one, which was I think still a couple years back, but. Boy, man, it's hard to believe that was that long ago.
Yeah.
With Laus Portacio and Jim Lee and Eric Larson and all the Savage Dragon, Spawn,
and then, of course, that's how they
spring
board into their own company, Image, and which is now, they're a force.
Yeah. Yeah, Image Comics is right up there. I'd say a very strong number 3.
Oh, yeah. Oh, easy number 3.
Yeah.
And we're talking about companies with Diamond. I was, because I was kind of looking over and looking through the companies we know will be affected, stuff like that. I find it very interesting that Archie Comics hasn't made any kind of a statement. Because you can only get Archie Comics through Diamond Comics.
Oh, interesting.
And I know people are going, it's Archie Comics, some of these modern readers who don't realize, well, back in the day, Jim and I are talking about at the time of Marvel and DC, like in the 80s and stuff, Archie was number 3. They were the third big one. And but you go back even a little farther before that, they sold more Archie comics back in the 60s and 70s than Marvel and DC sold.
Wow, how about that?
Yes. Huh. So now I don't think it's anywhere that way nowadays. And Archie has their distribution because you can still find the Archie Digest in grocery stores and stuff like that. So they got that, what we used to call newsstand. But the direct market is only Diamond, and I just kind of find it interesting that we haven't heard any kind of statement from them, which then, again, leads me to believe that they're not worried about anything.
Right, because are they pretty much number 4 now then? Image kind of displaced them, or are they 4 or 5?
Well, the thing is, if you look at the market shares, you're looking at direct market, and Archie's direct market share isn't very big anymore. Then there's no real gauge to look at the non-direct market, like I said, in the grocery stores and the Walmarts and the blah, blah, blah.
They barely do that now anyway.
Yeah, because there isn't now. There's the talk that they're going to try to make a comeback in that, which I think if you want the comic industry to be healthy, that is a smart thing because, shoot, back when I opened a store and you were 15 coming up, there was still newsstand. There was still a newsstand market.
I got Carnage, the first appearance of Carnage, Amazing Spider-Man 361. I got him at the Schnucks there in Cross Keys, shopping for those who were listening in the North County area. Schnucks and Cross Keys. That's where I got my first appearance of Carnage, because I remember you almost sold out, and so I was like, oh god. So I went and I got 4 copies out of the Schnucks, and they usually come out a couple weeks later after.
Yes,
the main thing.
They would always be a couple weeks after, and we would know back at the times like, ooh, this is sold out, this is hot.
Keep an eye
Let's
for
look for this book when it came out.
And I remember, I think I probably told this story to those of you who are listening, if you're longtime listeners. Hello, my flock. Hello, nice to hear you on the West Coast out there. My very first comic that I ever remember owning, we were at St. Louis Lambert International Airport. My brother was coming in from his basic training for the Navy, and they had a newsstand store and an arcade in the main terminal. And off that spinner rack, my very first comic ever, Superpowers Volume 2, number 5, which was Batman, Robin, and the Flash fighting Darkseid, written by Paul Kupperberg, a gorgeous art by Jack Kirby. That is the comic that made me a DC kid and made me a Batman fan. Because Batman with no superpowers takes on this giant alien and just knocks him around in the ring because Batman knows judo, and this alien's just swinging his axe, and I was like, this guy's cool.
Yeah.
So, and the Jack Kirby art doesn't hurt either.
No, it doesn't at all.
So, but yeah, so again, those were retail newsstands, and I didn't know any better. At the
I
time.
remember that store very well in the airport, because when I was even younger than you, I would drive a bike. I'd ride my bike probably 20, 30 minutes to get to that bookstore, because there would be comics there.
Yeah.
And they were usually older comics. It was kind of a weird back in the day, in the 70s. It would be like, and if you would go to where they had their, new comics, and if you went there, they were like 5 issues behind. So we would find stuff that's like, oh, it's the missing part that we missed, or whatever like that. So that's why we would make that long trek.
Yeah. So just as we kind of wrap up this particular segment, which companies do you see being small enough to be impacted? Is it going to impact like Titan Comics? Is it going to do?
Well, if you can only get Titan Comics through Marvel, or through Diamond.
Okay.
And there's a lot of, the Conan comics from Titan is really good, sells really well. They've got a few titles that, what will they do if Diamond goes? Now, saying that, Titan is big enough now, stuff like that, Lunar or Penguin would pick them up. The question is, an interesting question to me, is Dynamite. The company Dynamite.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't swear to it, but I think Dynamite has some kind of connection to Diamond.
Okay.
Dynamic Forces, which is part of Dynamite, is through Diamond. And I think there's some kind of marriage there. I don't know exactly what it would be or what it is. And so it would, and Dynamite puts out a lot of stuff.
Dynamite does the James Bond license, don't they? Am I correct?
Titan has that now.
Titan got,
I think Titan
all right.
No.
Because I know Titan has Doctor Who.
It's kind of jumped around. I think Titan has it now.
Okay.
But they've got all the Disney licenses, interesting enough, for Marvel, because they're putting out they just put out the Zootopia comic book that's coming out. But they've got all that Johnny Quest, Space Ghost.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
All that licensing, Barbarella.
And Nassau is publishing their own, because they just launched that 80s universe with Power Lords and
what company is that?
That's Nassau. Are they doing
that's
their own?
That's a completely new company.
Right, because Brian Volkwies, who runs that, has been putting out the documentaries like The Toys That Made Us.
Right,
He's been actually making the toys, too.
Sectors isn't from that company, is it? I thought Sectors was a different company.
No, Sectors is. It's all part of the line.
It is from that company?
Sectors,
Okay.
Power Lords, and RoboForce.
Yeah.
That's all those obscure 80s
yes,
toys.
very obscure cartoons. To me, obscure cartoons.
Yeah,
but they were still...
I mean, as an 80s boy.
Right.
I'm excited. So, Brian Volkwies, if you're listening, keep those coming, because I'm really
and the thing is, I've got the customers they coming in there and they're like, oh, I was actually surprised how many Sectors I sold. I'll just say it, because I was like, can anybody buy this comic? Does anybody even know this cartoon?
Oh yes, I love it. So yeah, that's kind of where we are in the Diamond. For those of you who are wondering, because I kind of wanted a breakdown. You and I were talking about it, so I'm glad you're able to come in, and you're going to stick with us for the next couple of segments, because we're going to talk a little bit about Anthony Mackie as we go into our break here and talk movies as well, coming up with Joey V. So we're going to take a real quick commercial break. If you're listening, we appreciate you. Go ahead and shoot us a hello in the chat. You can also text us on the KTRS text lines at 84126. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Gaylord the pup is full of tricks. Watch. Back up, Gaylord. Atta boy. Now climb, Gaylord. Up, up. Now fetch your bone. Got it. Good boy, Gaylord.
Gaylord, you look kind of crazy, move kind of lazy. See what he'll do. Gaylord, when you pull his leash, he'll walkity, walkity, walk with you.
Gaylord comes with a bone of his own. He's a wonderful toy. He's ideal.
Gaylord, when you pull his leash, he'll walkity, walkity, walk with you.
What's the greatest jet prop airliner ever designed? Remco's Flying Props with real motor-driven jet prop engines. The giant cockpit with dual controls has room in it for 2 kids to control.
Hi, this is Alan Oppenheimer, the voice of Skeletor, and you're listening to Geek to Me.
Coming back with the voice of Skeletor. Very sad to learn we lost John Irwin this week. The voice of He-Man in the original series. And I saw Melanie Britt, who voiced She-Ra, put out this very beautiful post to my brother. All I learned from you, how you were there with me in the booth. Yeah, it was beautiful. So nice. And so I put out my own Instagram post because that's really, I think, the first cartoon series that I was old enough to really pay attention to and realize, and I still think back on those, because at the end of every episode, I think this was mandated by the government. You couldn't just have a toy commercial on TV,
right,
which is what a lot of these shows were in the 80s. So they had a little lesson at the end. In today's episode, we learned that potions are bad because, it was an allegory for drug addiction or things. But I still, 3 or 4 times a week, I'll hear John Irwin's voice in my head telling me, you probably shouldn't do that. Or, you know what, you ought to be the bigger person in this situation and let this go. So very sad. I wish I would have gotten the chance to meet John Irwin. Very, very informative in my growing up years, and it's very sad to learn he passed away. So Godspeed, John Irwin. So the voice of Alan Oppenheimer bringing us back. We'll make sure we tell you very quickly about the City of St. Charles, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. You know them from the website discoverstcharles.com. They've been with me since the beginning of this show. As soon as I said, I'm going to do a radio show, I need sponsors, City of St. Charles said, what can we do? They've been with me ever since I started in 2016, and I've had a great working relationship with them, with the festivals they do. They've got a brand new festival in its second year. It's going to be March 8th and 9th in St. Charles. If you're a Valentine's Day fan, or if you're not a Valentine's Day fan, that's the beauty of this festival, because they've got the Lonely Hearts Club will sing songs about all the breakups and the heartache. But then you've got the Valentine Hearts, the Conversation Hearts, which will sing upbeat songs about love. And you get to walk up and down the streets. You get to make sonnets with Romeo and Juliet. You'll get to see the Queen of Hearts. She'll be there. You've got Cupid. You can take arrow shooting lessons from Cupid. There's all these characters you can interact with. It's a lot of fun. And if you know the Christmas Traditions Festival and the Legends and Lanterns Festival, it's that same vein. It's noon till 3, Saturday and Sunday, next weekend, which is, according to my calendar, the 8th and 9th of February. So make sure to go out there and check it out. If you're out in St. Charles anyway, it's always a fun time to be out there, especially when a festival. This is a smaller festival than what you're used to, but there's still a lot of reasons to go out there. We just went into Sugar and Slice, the bakery there in, I believe, the 500 block. Oh my gosh, I went in there on Saturday. The smell of the fresh cinnamon rolls. They only do cinnamon rolls on Saturdays and Sundays. I happened to be in there on Saturday. I'm like, I got to get a cinnamon roll. Laura, she's gluten-free, my wife, loves the macarons from there. They're wonderful. She says they're the best macarons she's ever had. So that might tell you something right there. Whether or not you're looking for a new place to eat, a new place to shop, check out Chuck and Lou out there, or the First Capital Trading Post. I was just in there talking to the owner, Randall, and they've got this gorgeous Batman statue. It's a limited edition. Don't any of you buy it, because I'm saving my pennies. I'm going to go in and get it myself. But it's this really cool thing. They've got Batman knives. They've got cool things. They've got the Loungefly gear, which is very popular. So there's all these great shops and restaurants up and down North and South Main. They're all independent businesses. It's always important to support those, especially in this economy. So get out there, have a good time, check out the website, start your trip at the website so you know kind of what you're getting into and you kind of plan your day or your weekend as it may be. DiscoverStCharles.com. That's DiscoverStCharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. As we transition from the talk about comic books into movies, Anthony Mackie was on a tour in Rome for the Captain America Brave New World. I think they changed the title of this movie a couple times as well. I think they're calling it Brave New World now because it was something else when it first came out. And it's been pushed back almost as many times as New Mutants. I swear to God, this movie has been pushed back 5 times. It was originally supposed to come out in December of 2023, got pushed back to May of 2024, got pushed back again till late 2024. Now, finally, it comes out Valentine's Day. I'm excited, but also a little hesitant because it's gone through like 3 or 4 different reshoots thing. Anyway, Anthony Mackie made a statement, and I don't have the cue pulled up. I should have had that, so that's on me. I apologize. But he made the statement that something to be, are you excited to be representing Captain America?
What do you think means to be Captain America, the name Captain America?
Yeah, and he kind of said, well, it's not so much about America as it is. And I partially think he's in the middle of Italy. He's trying to pitch this to a worldwide audience, and maybe he doesn't want to say this is only Americans are going to American. He doesn't want to come out on the stage. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think a lot of the outrage, a little bit manufactured by people who do that for clicks, in my opinion.
Okay, you know what? I didn't think of that angle, but I think that's actually a very smart way to think about it. Because if I am promoting my movie and I'm across the pond, so to speak, I don't want non-Americans to think that this would not be an accessible movie for them or a movie that they would enjoy. So I think his wording wasn't the best.
He did try to walk it back a couple days later. So
And again, I wonder, is that some kind of, where they, because a lot of times actors are given certain things they're only allowed to say to promote movies and such. Did somebody was that kind of one of the press release things they gave him? Just like, say this, whatever. As far as we know, he was told to say that you're not in America. Don't pitch it as an American movie.
It's not an American film.
I would have liked for him to say something like, how I'm sure you probably feel as well as I do. I've been reading the character as long as, it's not about it. And there is this part to it. It's not about America. It's about America stands for freedom. It's the symbol of freedom. It's not about the country. It's about the symbol and what it stands for. Yeah. And I think he, like you're saying, he was trying to say that when he was saying it's about a man who's stands on his own principles and words, stuff like that. Just a poor choice of words.
Yeah, and I think it's much ado about nothing. Now, I think you and I have talked about this, and we'll just be very brief here. I'm not a fan of these derivatives. So Red Hulk, you're watering down the main principle. I'm not a fan of, like, we've got Spider-Gwen and now Spider-Boy, and no offense to Dan Slott, love his work, but it's too many Spider-Man characters. Yeah. It's like now the big thing in DC with Superman was the last of the Kryptonians. Now there's like 20 Kryptonians. It's not a big deal anymore. So I'm excited to see Harrison Ford take over the role from John Hurt.
Yes.
William Hurt.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not a Red Hulk fan.
Well, the Red Hulk in the comics, I did like it. I have to say, and when it came out that it was Thunderbolt Ross,
right? Spoilers.
I found it a very interesting. Yeah, if you haven't read the comics, but I don't know what to tell you. And I love Harrison Ford, of course. So I'm very interested to see what they do with it in the movie. And I don't know if you noticed, and I saw the cast list. They went through the cast, and so Lil Tyler, what's her name? But she must be back reprising Betty Ross's character.
Tyler. Yeah. Steven Tyler's daughter.
Because she played her in the Hulk movie.
In the Edward Norton one.
Right.
Huh.
So I saw her name like 4th or 5th listed, and I was like, why is she in this movie? Then I went, oh, wait a minute. Thunderbolt was in the movie. He's his daughter.
Unless it's a different character like they did with Gemma Chan.
Well, that's true. She could be playing a different character, but I kind of suspect she's going to be Betty.
Hopefully. But, I mean, Gemma Chan was Dr. Minerva in Captain Marvel, and then she is Cersei in the Eternals. So you never know.
Right, yeah, true.
Jamon Hancho has played like 4 characters in the entire, so you never know. But yeah, that'd be a nice thing. So anyway, that's my take on it. I think it's much ado about nothing. I've seen every single Marvel. Well, now we talked. I haven't yet seen the Marvels. Just because at the time I think there was so much going on, I didn't get a chance to see it, and I just haven't had time. I quit halfway through Secret Invasion.
Which
but I like
it's
I
understandable.
Ms. Marvel. That was a great series.
I
we're
love
gonna
the
go down a rabbit
Marvels.
hole.
It's
So-
I always seem to stun people when I tell
Yeah.
people that I really enjoy the movie. It's a great popcorn movie. It's a comic book movie, and again, I come back to when people start to bad mouthing movies that we just talked about earlier.
Right.
It's like, what do you want? It's a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Not every comic book is an event.
Right.
So not every movie can be an event. There's just regular comic book stories, and now my thing is, don't spend $400 million to make one movie like that.
Yeah, the Captain America 4.
Spend $400 million to make your event like Infinity War or something like that. Where you're going to
It's
think
a
to yourself
whole
you're
big,
going to make that kind of money back. But I think one of my biggest pet peeves nowadays is when I hear, well, it's a bomb. It only made $90 million in the box office.
It's because it's up against a $400 million budget.
It's not really a bomb if it made that much money.
But against a $400 million budget.
Yeah,
yes.
you lose
So,
money, but I don't. Madam Web was a bomb. Made $5 million, and it would cost however God amount it cost to make. That's a bomb.
Yeah, yeah. And again, Captain America 4. I know with all the reshoots, they said this might be one of the most expensive Marvel movies today. But we'll see how that goes. I think with all the reshoots, they said, and this doesn't count marketing, as far as I know, it's almost $450 million on this movie.
Ouch!
With the
They're not
CGI
gonna
for
make
Red
their-
Hulk and everything, it's not tracking well. Anyway, that's our take. If you get to see it. If you're planning to see it, let us know in the comments. You can let us know yay or nay if you're going to check out Captain America 4 in theaters. I hope you do, because I want these movies to succeed. I want
We
more
do.
of them,
We have
so-
to support them, so we keep getting them.
Right, exactly. Joey V, did you have, before we go to break and get into the Oscar segment, did you have any take at all on Captain America 4 and Anthony Mackie's statements?
I Googled Controversy, Anthony Mackie, and it was a totally different version of it. It was his secondary controversy about how people were comparing Red Hulk to Trump. And he got kind of set up by an interviewer. An interviewer said, So, Anthony Mackie, what do you think about all these people that are comparing Red Hulk to Trump? And he just lost his mind. He's like, it has nothing to do with him. If he was yellow, people would say it was Trump. So that's the one I thought you were going to talk about. I had to Google this other one to see about this controversy. And the argument was that Chris Evans said a similar thing in 2011.
He did, yeah.
Where Captain America came around the same time as Hitler, so that was what we were all fighting against. We all agreed Nazis were bad. So maybe nowadays...
We can all still agree with that, I think.
Yeah,
I think
that's still...
So nowadays they should call him Captain Good because he's got traits that everyone across the world...
Horrible name.
That's a terrible name. Chris Evans said we're going to change it to Captain Good.
Chris Evans, that's why he's not on the production staff. He can star and look pretty. But anyway, that's our take on Captain America 4. Let us know what you think in the comments. We're going to come back and we're going to talk Oscars. We're going to take a brief commercial break. If I can make sure I hit the right key on the board here. And so stick around. We're talking Oscars. Hello, BK on the air. Just snuck in the comments there. Hello, BK. Coming at us from Cartersville, Georgia. Check out BK on the air on Saturday mornings. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Geek to Me Radio. Stand by.
Greatest thrill of your lifetime. Only $14.98. Remember, every boy wants a Remco toy, and so do girls.
Who will be next to launch Man in Space?
Me!
And so can you with Deluxe Man in Space set. You get a rocket launcher, defense base, and 3 different nose cones. Up goes the astronaut to the top of the launcher. The gantry moves in. The space capsule is locked on the mighty Atlas rocket. Blast off! There he goes! Man in Space! Enemy bombers approaching. Flash the alert. Open fire.
Deluxe Man in Space, complete with missile base. With astronaut and satellite, you send them into flight. 3, 2, 1, fire! Deluxe Man in Space.
Wow, what a toy! Deluxe Man in Space is sold only at food markets.
Here it is, Barbie's Dream House, the wonderful new house for Mattel's famous Barbie doll.
To Me Radio.
One thing everyone can agree on, and that's that Kevin Conroy is the definitive voice of Batman. Bringing us back from a commercial break there. dearly missed still to this day. I'm in a down mood. I'm talking about John Irwin dying in my last break, and I talking about Kevin Conroy. Let's move on, shall we? Let's talk about something happy. Comic books always make me happy. We've got Larry Quiggins in studio with us, owner of Bugs Comics and Games. You all know he's my official comic book sponsor. Whether or not you're looking for brand new issues like the ones we were just talking about, you want to get out there and support these smaller companies. I'm loving the Nasale comic book line that they've been putting out. Sectars, Roboforce, and now Power Lords. The smaller ones, we just had Charles Soule on talking about his new comic, The Lucky Devils. That was a really fun comic. We've some of these independent publishers from Image. I hate to say Image is independent anymore, but it's not one of the big two. But still, if you want to get out and get your new comics, go see Larry at Bugs Comics right there on Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri. Back issues, too. I keep eyeballing. Every time I go in the case, you got that first appearance of Punisher there. I'm like, sitting there in the case, first appearance of Punisher, Amazing Spider-Man 129. So he's got something ranging from Silver and Bronze Age stuff all the way to the new stuff. You can start a pull list. Tell them, hey, I want to make sure I don't miss this comic. I know I've got Incredible Hulk, Amazing Spider-Man on my list, those comics like that. Because sometimes you go in like, oh, something big happened in this issue, and it's sold out. So if you put it on your pull list, you don't have to worry about that. So talk to them about a pull list. And if you're getting a pull list, might as well talk to Larry about the Avengers Club.
Especially for the small press stuff, which we were talking about earlier. Those are the really important ones to have on pull lists.
Like the Lucky Devils we talked about, and like Giant Detective, and ones like those.
Sectors and the stuff like that, because those retailers, we're guessing on some of that stuff.
Yeah, and you're ordering, hoping that, well, am I going to sell out of this one? I mean, selling out's a good thing, but yeah, so if you want to do that and join the Avengers Club, that way you're saving money every week on your new comics and everything like that. Go through, browse the back issues, pick out some fun stuff, everything from dollar books all the way up to like a first appearance of Punisher, which is going to set you back a little bit more. But Larry's always got very fair prices on his comic books. That's one of the reasons I like buying my back issues from him, is because I know I'm not getting hosed on the price. So check him out. If you go to facebook.com/Bugs Comics and Games, you can follow him there, give that page a like, and of course on Instagram, he's always trying to put stuff up there. If you see something you like on Instagram, send him a message, say, hey, I want this book, and he'll send you a PayPal invoice, send it right to your door. He can be your local comic book store online, maybe your local comic book store near you closed. So that's easy enough to fix. Just follow Bugs Comics and Games on Instagram as well. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. Now, we turn it over to Joey V for the most part, because he's the cinephile among us. We're going to talk Oscar picks. Academy Awards are coming up on March the 2nd, just about a little under a month from today. So we're going to talk about some of the movies that are nominated, some of the snubs, some of the ones that I think should have been. I will, full disclosure, and I know we were talking off air, I have not seen a single one of the Oscar-nominated pictures for Best Picture yet.
Shame!
I know. You saw what? You said you saw 3 or 4 pictures this weekend?
Yeah, this week. I knew I was coming in and I had a job to do, so I watched 3 right this weekend before I came in.
So have you seen all the ones that are nominated for Best Picture?
I have not seen The Brutalist, Wicked, or I'm Still Here.
Okay.
Brutalist is 3.5 hours long, so I want to wait until I can watch it at home for my PP breaks. And my cereal breaks, of course.
Yes.
Wicked, I've seen the musical. I'm not that interested in seeing a movie that's twice as long as the musical I already sat through.
Yeah.
Especially when it's only based on the first act of the musical.
Right.
And then I'm Still Here. That's a foreign film that's just one that isn't available yet to get on premium video on demand. I can't buy it. I think it's at a couple theaters. I just haven't made the time to go see it. But that one is Brazilian, so it's in Portuguese. And boy, I don't know if my reading eyes are good right now.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, the Oscars they're on March 2nd on ABC and Hulu. So if you don't got your bunny ears no more, you can still stream it on Hulu.
Okay.
You got your bunny ears hooked up? Can you still watch regular
I'm streaming
over the air?
I'm streaming it.
Oh my goodness, these kids, these
I'll be here.
See, we're watching the sub channels over here. We got 2.1, we got 2.2, all the Laugh TV, all that junk.
I'll be here. I'll have to see it from the
It's amazing how many channels is on the bunny ears nowadays.
And they moved it up an hour last year, and they're continuing that. So it starts at 6 p.m., so March 2nd, 6 p.m., ABC. Conan O'Brien is the host. What a great
I saw that.
choice.
I heard that today. I was like,
I love it when he hosts the Golden Globes. He's one of my probably top 5 favorite hosts of the Golden Globes.
Like Conan, too. So.
Not a controversial guy. Jimmy Kimmel, he is political, so having him back, I could see, some people would say, I'm going to sit this one out. Conan, he's just out there having fun.
Yeah, he's
a silly goose right there.
I know you did research on this. How do you think the wildfires are going to affect? Because that's kind of they're still recovering.
The focal point of the show will be the wildfires.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a way to raise money somehow. I don't know if it'll be a telethon or if maybe some of the winners will have someone go up and make a speech on their behalf, or first responders could come up. I believe they did that during COVID. They had some first responders there. So it's definitely going to be wildfire focused. And I mean, they want to bring business back to Hollywood. I mean, everyone from rich studio people to the camera guys, I mean, they all lost their houses.
Yeah.
And now they're dealing with floods that could take the mudslides and make it even worse.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they need to bring back business. And I think there's going to be more tax incentives in LA to get people maybe away from Atlanta and bring business back to
Vancouver.
Hollywood.
Yeah, those are the two big cities now. I do think it's funny that you mentioned Jimmy Kimmel and politics, because I saw someone post on Twitter that fire does not, natural disasters don't know politics. It burned Mark Hamill's house and it burned James Woods' house. It does not matter what party you're affiliated with. And hopefully people are out there and they're donating to these causes. That's just, it should be blind as far as that goes. So hopefully they'll take a note of that. I think, like Joey said, Conan O'Brien's a great choice because he's not really strikes me as a political.
Actually, it made me go, maybe I'll watch. Because I haven't watched an Oscars in probably, I don't remember years the last time with the person.
These are smaller titles, too. There's not a Top Gun Maverick, Barbie and the Bunch. These are pretty small ones, except for Wicked. Yeah.
Is thrown in there, and I'd say that's probably the big.
No, I know for actor in a leading role, I've got favorites. Like I just said, I haven't seen a lot of these, but I've always got favorites just because I know them. And then there's like people, I don't want to say I'm rooting against anybody, but there are people who I'm not as big of a fan of. And I've made no secret that Timothée Chalamet is 1990s Leonardo DiCaprio. You could pluck him out of the movie, put in any other actor, and it does not change a thing. So to that end, not a Timothée Chalamet fan, just like in the 1990s, I was like Leonardo DiCaprio is kind of mid.
Let me spit some Chalamet facts for you real quick. He's a Chalamet. He's 29 years old. He's been in 7 movies that have been nominated for Best Picture.
Wow.
And this is his second nomination for an acting award. He was in 2 of the movies this year, Dune Part 2 and the Bob Dylan movie, A Complete Unknown. So, I mean, this kid is only going to keep going. And
look at
getting
DiCaprio.
more wins. I know.
Talking about DiCaprio in the 90s, look where he's at now.
Oh, yeah, no. And again, it's nothing against the person. It's just that I find them very mediocre. I'm whelmed.
Double duty on SNL, and it was actually a really good episode, too. He sang as Bob Dylan, and he hosted this past weekend.
I will say for my pick, just because I'm a fan of his, I'm hoping, and I don't think, based on the movie choices and he's up against, I don't think he's going to win, but I'm hoping Coleman Domingo wins because I loved him in Fear the Walking Dead. His voice roles that he does has been great. He's been fantastic in everything I've seen him in. So my personal favorite, I'd like to see Coleman Domingo win.
That Sing Sing movie, it was not marketed right, but I loved it. It made me cry, and it's one of the most uplifting, just real movies that's out there.
Prison.
Yeah, a theater program in prison. Yeah. People thought that this real-life prisoner was going to get nominated for an acting award, and that would have been just an amazing storyline. But he did get nominated because he helped write the movie. Okay. So he's still got...
Nice. Well, he's in there. He's in the mix.
Yeah, he's in the mix. The big snub for the acting award was Denzel. I mean, him...
for Gladiator 2?
He carried Gladiator 2. If you didn't like that movie, you still knew that his performance was amazing. So I think that's what happened. People didn't love Gladiator 2 enough to give Denzel that wink.
Our friend Christian Basil, if you're a Doctor Who fan, check out The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, by the way. That's a fantastic podcast. They broadcast every Tuesday. Whovians all around the world need to check him out with The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Christian who runs it just says, haven't watched the Oscars since James Cameron's moment of silence. And he really lost respect after Will Smith's big smack.
That was the last one I watched. That was an Oscar.
Yeah, 2022, I think.
Yeah, so
that turned my stomach when I saw that. I felt like Mom and Dad were fighting in the other room, and I was going down to play video games.
Moment. I just,
and people were like, "Oh, it's a bit. They did a bit just to kind of big." I'm like, "Was it though?" Because he lost a lot of clout and was kind of snubbed after that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so who knows?
And you guys are big comic book fans, of course. We were just talking about what could happen with the comic industry with the Diamond Comics scandal, fiasco, bankruptcy. So, I mean, animated feature film, that is something that we had a lot of thoughts on. And, Larry, you just watched Wild Robot.
I just watched Wild Robot, and I really, really enjoyed the movie.
People thought that was going to get nominated for Best Picture. I mean, it's been a while. I think maybe Beauty and the Beast, since a cartoon, was nominated for Best. I loved Wild Robot, and something that I am so excited is that Moana 2 got completely left out. I hated Moana 2 so much.
I remember you said that when we had Janelle on.
It's making over $1 billion. Oh, my goodness. I was very grateful for that. And I just watched Flow the other day. It's kind of like Wild Robot, where it's animals involved in nature and something has happened with the environment. So check out Flow. No dialogue at all either. It's wild. It's this cat that's going through a flood and making friends with these other animals. And a very sweet Latvian movie. It's like the movie that could. I don't know
What's it on?
You have to rent it for $6.
Like on Prime or something
yeah, it's
like
on
that?
Amazon
Okay.
Prime.
Okay.
So check out Flow.
It did not get nominated though for anything.
Flow got nominated for Best Animated Feature Film along
Okay.
with Inside
animated
Out.
short.
Is
Okay,
it
I'm looking at.
animated
Okay,
or short
I see.
animated?
Feature, animated feature.
Okay, gotcha. All right,
But Inside Out 2, that's the crazy thing for the animated films is that was the #1 movie of the year. A sequel, a cartoon sequel. I mean, these kids' movies do not
it's
stop
Pixar.
printing money.
Yeah.
I mean, there's talk that Zootopia 2 could be the #1 movie of 2025, just looking at how
Zootopia
Inside
was a
Out
big
2.
movie, so I could see it.
Yeah.
I personally hope the Wild Robot beats it. Though.
And I checked out Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. That's on Netflix. Very funny, very sweet movie as well. Those Aardman films are always from a good place and have a lot of visual jokes. But I definitely think that Wild Robot will win this one for the animated.
I really hope so.
Now, I know she won for the Golden Globe, Zoe Saldana, for her role in Amelia Perez. Do you think she's got a shot at winning this for the Oscars, or is one of these other ones looking like a better fit to you, Joey V?
If you have seen Amelia Perez, it's such a bizarre film, but they have tanked all their chances this past week. The lead actress, the trans actress, Carla Sofia Gascon, her tweets have resurfaced, and it turns out she is the very first conservative trans Spanish-speaking person that's ever existed. I mean, I say Spanish because Bruce Jenner
Excuse me?
is the first conservative trans person, I would say. But Carla Sofia Gascon, she was out there before anyone else saying, like, George Floyd was a swindler, drug addict that no one cares about. She was saying that I don't like all the Muslim people in my country. She's from Spain, and she's very anti-Muslim. It's weird, some of the stuff. She called the Oscars too woke in 2021.
Oh, 20. Okay, I was
In
going to say, how old are these?
2021.
Because James Gunn was canceled for a while because of tweets he put out in 2012.
She was
way
complaining that there were too many black nominees at the
Who is that?
2021 Oscars.
We talking about Zoe?
Carla Sofia Gascon, the lead actress of Amelia Perez.
And she's up for she's one of the nominees.
She has single-handedly ruined all 13 nominations for Amelia Perez.
That's a lot of nominations, though, for a movie that was a Netflix only. I think this would be something that what's his face would get very upset about. Martin Scorsese. Well, it's not in theaters. It shouldn't be, because he got very upset about that a couple years back. Why are
Say,
these
Martin,
Apple
just
TV?
sit down and watch a superhero movie.
Well, you can't tell if
You'll be fine.
Martin's sitting down or not because he's very short anyway.
Yeah, the Academy does not like anything that's a streamer. I mean, it takes...
But it got 13 nominations. How is that
It's not
happening
going to win
then?
Best Picture, though, because the theater lobby is kind of what motivates all of these Oscar voters.
Yeah.
And yes, you have to be in theaters for a week to get nominated at all, but I mean, Roma couldn't get across the finish line because it was a Netflix movie. And I don't know if Coda counts because it was Apple picked up. It wasn't really like, a streaming only thing. But Amelia Perez, I think everyone is lost all their chances. So that's why I'm saying Zoe Saldana does not have a chance anymore.
Okay, so who is your pick for actress in supporting role then of the ones remaining?
Who we got? Anybody got?
Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, or Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown?
Oh, did you see Complete Unknown with the Bob Dylans? I mean, Monica, was it Barbaro? She was
Yeah, Monica
so
Barbaro.
good as Joan Baez. It's incredible that she didn't know how to sing or play guitar before she was in that movie, and then she just killed it. But I think maybe Isabella Rossellini, it may be time. She does nothing in Conclave except Google something for one of the Cardinals.
How is she going to
'Cause
get
you're-
it then?
During the conclave, you're supposed to be totally cut off from the outside world. And so Ray Fiennes says, hey, could you kind of Google something for me? So she Googles something and walks away. And that's like all she really does. She's a silent, just lady who gives dirty looks. But it could be her time because Isabella Rossellini is just Hollywood royalty. I
Yeah,
mean,
sure.
So I think it could be where she gets one just because, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Revenant wasn't the best movie he's
Look
ever
at
been
Paul
in.
Newman and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Rossellini or the other one I said.
Okay. Monica Barbaro.
Monica Barbaro.
All right, one of those two. All right, we got about 4 minutes left. I'm trying to. Are there any ones that you're particularly keen on discussing? Any of the categories?
The writing stuff is where my favorite movies land because that's where you'll find Sing Sing, you'll find A Real Pain. These were some of my favorite movies of the year. So if we go down to the writing adapted and writing original, I mean, those are wonderful movies, especially Nickel Boys. You'll find that down there. I mean, that's like a super indie film about a boys' school, like a military school, where there's a lot of racism and hidden secrets that happens in the school. And then, like I said, Sing Sing is in there. And then let's see, adapted screenplay, and then original screenplay. Oh, who's in there?
Brutalist for original screenplay.
There we go. Anora.
Nora.
And September 5. That's what I was getting to. September 5 was the movie
Yeah,
I
you
did
love that one.
I did 20 minutes on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that's about the 1972 Munich Olympic terrorist
Oh,
attack.
is that good?
And September 5, I loved it. It's an amazing 90 minutes, pulse pounding, and they use real footage from the actual Olympics.
I want to see that.
And it's like the control room is talking to Peter Jennings from back in time, but it's all happening. It's real actors from today interacting with the footage from back then.
Huh.
So September 5, it's
Interesting.
finally in
Yeah.
theaters. Make sure you go see it. But yeah,
I'm of age, so I remember when it happened.
most
What can I
watched
say?
thing in history of television. There was like 900 million people that watched that.
Wow.
But yeah, check out the original screenplay. I love everything in there. Anora, Real Pain, September 5, The Substance, Sing Sing.
Yeah, Substance was one of you saying its praises too. Was that you?
Substance is my favorite movie of the year. It's a horror film, and it's been a while. I mean, maybe Parasite was a horror film, you could say, because all that's crazy stuff that happened in the basement, but people usually look back all the way to Silence of the Lambs. Horror doesn't get the its due at all. And so it'd be really cool if Substance did win. It's got something going for it because a woman directed, and she's a French woman. It's got the storyline of Demi Moore reclaiming, her place on the mantle of Hollywood, getting her big, Oscar statue after all these years. And it's got gore galore. I love good gore in a movie.
So, those are your Oscar nominations and kind of what our thoughts are. We'll see. I'll be here live that night. We might. I don't know if we want to do a Golden Globes thing like we did last time.
I don't know.
We'll see if we
Then,
want
of
to
course,
cut live to it.
Donald Trump got nominated. He may win.
Yeah, that's right.
What did he get nominated for?
No, the Apprentice.
The Apprentice movie.
It's that
Sebastian
Donald Trump
Stan.
movie. Yeah, Sebastian Stan, Captain Bucky. He got nominated.
Winter
It was great.
Soldier. He plays a young
Yeah,
Donald
I
Trump.
saw that. I was happy for him that he got nominated for a movie. I was like, oh, look at that.
Because we had a couple superheroes. Now, Coleman Domingo. We've got Ralph Fiennes, who was, not a superhero, but he played in The Avengers he was John Steed.
Right.
Which was, I love that movie.
And
Sean
both of those
Connery.
performances in that Trump movie, The Apprentice, are really good. Roy Cohn, he's a guy who got the mob off all the time, and he teaches Trump everything that we know about him now. Like, Trump was just a guy fumbling through the halls of his dad's properties, knocking on doors, collecting rent checks from squatters, basically. And then he meets Roy Cohn, and, oh, man.
Goes crazy.
He becomes who we know he is now.
Nominated, who knows? So that's our feel out on the Oscars. That's kind of what we've got for you so far. If you get a chance, let us know what your thoughts are. As we wrap up here, I want to make sure we tell you very briefly about Two Rivers Comic Con. Tickets are now on sale for that. 2 riverscomiccon.com. We had a lot of people ask about vendor spaces. They're going quickly. If you are listening right now and you're we've got independent people who are just selling their own collection. We've also got established stores who are setting up there as well. If you're interested in doing either of those things, you can certainly shoot us an email. Just go to the website, tworiverscomiccon.com. We also have sponsorships available. Ticket prices will go up starting very soon. We're looking at Valentine's Day as the date that they're going to pop up. So we'll make sure you get those tickets before they increase on February 14th. Chris Ferguson in the chat says, I'm hoping Wallace and Gromit wins for animated feature. I wouldn't be upset if that happens either. Thank you to Larry Quiggins, Bugs Comics and Games, for coming in studio today. Thank you to Joey V for making the show look and sound as I don't have to turn the camera on because he's had one on him right now. Of course, thanks to the City of St. Charles, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau for being our premier sponsor. And thank you to all of you who listen tonight. Thank you all of you in the chats. I tried to get to all of you. The chats are still wonky with the new restream feature, but hopefully I mentioned everyone who chatted to us. And until next week, my friends.
Cards. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Baltimore. Good night.
The Big 550 KTRS. From ABC News, I'm Dave Packard. President Trump signing executive orders imposing 25% tariffs on all imports from Mexico and Canada and 10% on goods from China. Trump saying that the tariffs target the three countries for the transport of illicit drugs that end up in the U.S.
It's pouring in from China through Mexico and Canada, and they've got to stop it. And if they don't stop it, the tariffs are going to get